I mean, it's straight down over the past few days since they announced it. I don't know what it means. I mean, it just seems like it was a retail trap. All of the ones that they mentioned, XRP, Cardano, or I don't even know the names of them all, but they're all way down since it was announced. And the same thing is true here about the S&P. And you got, you know, the hedge funds at their lowest exposure to the Mag 7 in 22 months, yet everyone you talk to who's in stocks, they're in the Mag 7. What does that really tell us? And yet you hear nothing about gold and silver, but if you're paying attention, you see there is a mad dash for it, a quiet mad dash that no one in the mainstream talks about. And your very well-read, articulate, financially literate friends have no idea. That's the scary thing. You can see that there is a concerted misdirection effort to the public. And it, you know, sometimes you look at the comments, yeah, these guys have been saying this shit forever. Well, okay, we have. But at some point, the logic and the reality of it plays out. It's a high stakes game, no question about it. But I will tell you that in my entire career, Dunnigan, it has never felt like it does right now. Something's brewing with gold and silver, big. And you can see they're fighting it. They're not letting it easily get away from them. But there are forces that are not bullion banks that are challenging the bullion banks, standing for delivery. And these proxies, whoever they are, these sovereign wealth funds, are a formidable foe, to say the least. And I think to be naked short right now is insane. And maybe that's why you see the short position on COMEX the lowest it's been since 2020. And maybe will continue to go lower. And maybe that's part of the reason we're seeing the gold come back. But if you are naked short and you need to deliver and the LBMA says, sorry, 8 weeks, what do? Where do you get the gold? This is how the whole thing can blow up. A lot of people think it won't, that the exchange will do something that they need to do to save themselves. But what if it happens in the LBMA? Are they doing that to save themselves right now? 8 weeks, cooling off? It's supposed to be T+1. How aggravated would you be if you had millions of dollars worth of gold that you were expecting for something, whether it be to cover a position or manufacturing jewelry or whatever it is, and you were told, sorry, it's 2 months minimum before you get it because we don't have enough trucks and enough manpower, which is a joke. So I don't know. It's bigger than what a lot of even the people in this industry who kind of lean to the conservative side, not as stupid as I am to say these things, maybe foolish, but I feel it. That's why I keep saying I don't know how it all plays out, but it doesn't feel just like a normal arbitrage or a normal Trump tariff maneuver or even the Basel III thing. It just seems a lot deeper than that. I guess only time will tell. But, you know, as far as retail, we've seen it begin to pick up. We've seen premiums start to slowly rise, availability start to slowly wane, slowly. Because for the last year, it's been the opposite of that. Premiums have been falling, availability has been increasing. Our inventory was never been so deep, but it's beginning to change. And we've seen some very large orders lately. We sold 11,000 ounces, we and you, of numismatic coins. And I will say to all of the people who took advantage of that, I have never seen a better opportunity. And you look at any of the other retailers out there, those of you that got the 63s and 4s and stuff, you'll see exactly what I mean. The prices are way higher than what you paid. And we sold it in a matter of days. So there are people who are beginning to understand what's happening in a very significant way. But I would argue, you know, and give a name to this podcast, the big money is moving from risk on to risk off. At the same time, the public is deeply entrenched in the risk on trade. That, my friend, is something that I would not want to be part of because, as we've said before, the little man always is the last to learn. The big guys not only know the playbook, the information, but they position themselves way ahead of the trend. And you can see They are leaving these risk-on trades right now. When you see the hedge funds at a 22-month low on the Mag 7, what the hell are you sitting in these stocks for with profit? Get out. Profits, and that's not financial advice. That's what I would do. Profit's not a four-letter word. And at the same time, when you see none of the the talking heads talking about gold and silver at all-time highs in gold, and yet the rush globally to accumulate and repatriate, what are you waiting for? I think something big is coming for gold and silver, bigger than ever before. Don't know what it is, don't know what the catalyst is, don't know how it plays out, but what we are seeing here in the periphery is so far removed from anything that I can even begin to tell you I've seen in 35 years that I would bet that we're all surprised how it all plays out somewhere this year, what the final numbers look like, where it ultimately goes, and who the players are that are involved in it. So only time will tell, but I don't say that stuff. Look, I don't say that stuff publicly on your show where a couple 100,000 people will watch it only to look like a fool. It is in my soul. That's what I feel. I mean, we were all loaded, especially with since November, the Trump euphoria, people selling and taking advantage of the risk-on trade, the NVIDIA, the Bitcoin, etc. And then the 2025 allocations, where all the dealers and like, for example, we were able to buy backdate gold eagles for less than the U.S. Mint, or the primary distributors were buying the 2025s and had to buy them. They don't have a choice. They're buying them from the mint at 3.4% or whatever that number is, and selling backdates at 1.5% less than that a few months ago. So they were loaded with product and having to take on more, and so the premiums fell. They wanted to move it. And then all of a sudden, it's starting to disappear. And maybe part of the reason that's disappearing is that, let's look at silver. Right now, it's at all-time highs against the Canadian dollar, the Aussie dollar, the Japanese yen. And what's interesting, and the bald guy money called my attention to this, is that in 2011, the previous peak, silver barely almost got to 50 per second. The dollar then was at 75. Now it's at 107. So at a 107 right now, it's silver is doing what it's supposed to do as those currencies have fallen against the dollar, and it's at an all-time high. What happens if our U.S. dollar falls back to where it was in 2011, down to 75? You have no idea how high gold and silver will go in that environment. And certainly it could. I mean, inflation is here to stay. And when we get into this recessionary environment, what is the Fed going to do? Are they going to lower rates again and pivot and re-inject QE again and start to, just say to the world, we're trapped? Holding dollars right now is a losing proposition. And I've mentioned Luke Groman talks about net since 2014. There have been no new treasury purchases net by central banks. On a net basis, they've been selling treasuries to the tune of almost $700 billion while buying $800 or $900 billion, what they account for, a lot more that they don't, in gold, which is the only other tier one asset. So you got a lot of awareness around the country, around the world, not here yet, but because there has been over the past couple of weeks this renewed awareness by the metals crowd, it doesn't take a lot, to blow through inventory. Once you do that, now you're getting into just 2025s. There's no value there. There's no bargain there. I've been screaming to people for forever on your show that this is strange, the premiums and the availability. And I've been through this so many times, done again on lesser. It's never been as extreme. It would be like this, but now it's like this. My whole career, I've seen periods of time where, the mints in general are very inefficient. They're government, right? They don't have the profit motive, but they're the model of inefficiency typically where that would happen, but never with the awareness or the economic backdrop we see right now. So, I've seen this before, and it doesn't take but a day or two of awareness from people, for whatever reason triggers it, where those back, that large inventory pool that dealers are sitting on, drowning on, losing money on, disappears. And you've been here with me long enough. You've seen it. This is why I tell, like my son who came on board a year ago, I said, listen, when you are selling something as a commission salesman, you're never as good as you think you are when business is great. You're never as bad as you think you are when business is slow. You have to learn that balance, that the market has movements to it that are repetitive. The only difference that I would see this time around is that they're far more accentuated. They're far more extreme, and the rationale is far stronger. And when you put into it the fact that we're now net importers of metal in this country and seeing 20 million ounces of gold that we know of imported here, and a rush to deliver record delivery numbers, record deposit numbers, and resilience, as you said at the onset, where they knock the price down and it comes right back up. That's been a hallmark of this market for the past several months. They knock it down, where before in my career, they would knock it down and beat the crap out of it and it would never come back. Like in 2011, which began a 5 or 6 year odyssey to the bottom. That ain't the case this time. So it's not going straight up, because there is certainly some pushback by those large institutions who are, fighting an existential threat for their livelihood by being stupid enough to be naked short all these years. But like I've always said on your show, the only way to manipulate a market over an extended period of time is to push it in the direction that it is going. So I always said that those same traders will find a way to flip-flop and screw to the nth degree the people on the other side. Those will be probably some of the American hedge funds who think they're smarter than the market. But I guess we'll see.